Hi, I'm Sophie from Encodian, and today I'm going to be showing you how you can use Encodian's new AI action called Translate Text. So this action allows you to translate text into your chosen language, and it sits underneath the Encodian General Connector. So let's take a look at the solution. So this is the Power App I'm using for my solution today. So I've built upon the spelling and grammar checker Power App that I used for a previous solution. So I won't be going into that area of the app today. However, it uses a custom AI prompt to be able to check the spelling and grammar of a provided piece of text. So if you're interested in learning about how to use custom AI builder prompts, go ahead and check out that blog. However, today I'm focusing on the translation side of the app. Before I go into how the app is actually configured, I first want to touch upon how we are actually using Encodian Flowr for the solution today. So, as you're probably aware, Encodian Flowr is a Power Platform connector. So we use it commonly in Power Automate flows, and actually a lot of our blogs and videos we create, we use Flowr in Power Automate. However, because Flowr is a Power Platform connector, we are actually able to use Flowr directly in Power Apps. So this means we can call Flowr actions and complete Flowr actions directly from a Power App without having to use an external Power Automate flow to do the same thing. This means that you're going to get your results more quickly as they're happening in-app rather than happening out in a flow and being returned back to the app. So how do we actually use Flowr directly in Power Apps? So as I mentioned, Flowr is a Power Platform connector. So you can add Flowr into your Power App the same way you'd add any other connector. So you need to come across to your data page here. You just need to click Add Data. And if I type in Encodian, we can see all of the Encodian connectors appear here. So to add one in, just select the one that you need to use. You may be prompted to provide your API key, so just make sure you've got that handy to be able to put in if it asks you to. And once that's been provided for the connector, it will then appear here in your list of data sources. So we can see that I'm using the Encodian General Connector today because that's the connector where the Translate Text action sits. So once you've added in your Flowr connector to the app, you can go ahead and start to use this in Power Effects. So then you can start to use your actions within the app. So that's how you can add Flowr directly to your Power App. So now let's actually take a look at how this app is configured. So I've added a home page into this app. So we can see here we've got a button that's going to take you to the spelling and grammar area, and we've also got a button that's going to take you to the translate area. So each of these buttons are just using a navigate. So I'm going to go ahead and take us to the translate page. So this is what my translate page looks like. I'm using two text input boxes. The first text input box allows you to type in the text or copy and paste in the text that you want to be translated. And the second text input box is disabled, so you can't actually type into it. However, when the translate text button is clicked, your translated text in the desired language is going to appear here in this second text input box. So the reason I've done this as a text input is because it allows me to set a default text. So I'm setting this to a variable that I've called results. I'm using a combo box here to be able to select what language to translate the text into. Encodian Flowr's translate text action uses Microsoft Translation Services in the backend. So this means all of the languages available with Microsoft Translation Services are also available using Encodian Flowr actions. So I've just added the list of languages into the items of my combo box looking like this. The reason I'm using a combo box rather than a drop down is because I want to have an empty default value. So this looks like this with the hint text when a user comes onto the page. And also, I want the user to be able to search for a language because there's quite a lot of options available and scrolling just isn't very user friendly. So it's a lot easier to be able to search for a language using the text. So how do we actually use the translate text action directly in the Power App without having a Power Automate flow? So we can call these Encodian Flowr actions from buttons, the same way you would, for example, if you wanted to submit a form. So on my Translate Text button here, on the OnSelect property, this is the formula I'm using. So let's break this down. I'm using set because I want to set the results of this Encodian Flowr action as the result variable. And I want to save this as a variable because that means I can then display the result variable as the default to my second text input box. So this means as soon as the action is complete and the text has been translated, it's going to automatically appear here because I'm setting that variable as the default text. So that's breaking down the formula as a whole. So now let's actually break down how to use the Encodian Flowr section of that formula. So to be able to use Encodian actions, you need to first start typing the name of the connector that you're using. So I'm using Encodian General today. You then need to do a full stop, and then it will give you the list of available actions underneath that connector. So today I'm using Translate Text. Then you need to do an open bracket, and the same as when you're typing in any other PowerFX formulas, it's going to give you prompts to help guide you so you can write your formulas easier. So we can see in here that the first input I need to give this action is the text. So that's the text I want to translate. And then I need to provide the target language too. If you're confused about any of the inputs that you need to provide, they'll be the same inputs that you would have provided if you were building this out in a Power Automate. And you can always check the documentation available on the Encodian website. And the link to the documentation for the action you're using will also appear here in the description. So coming back to what I've got written up here, we can see that I'm providing the text input of this box, and I'm provided the selected value of my combo box here. And I've also had to add this dot translation to the end too. So if I just get rid of this and press dot, this is going to be all of the returned outputs from that action. So we just need to specify what is the exact output that we want to set as that results variable. For this action, it's called translation, but for some of the other actions, it will be called result. So just have a look through there and see what your options are, and it'll be quite obvious what one actually holds the result of the action. And that is all you need to do to be able to start using Flowr actions directly from the app. And lastly, the last item I've got is this clear text button, which just resets all of my inputs. So it's resetting my 2 text input boxes, it's resetting my combo box selection, and it's also setting my result variable back to blank, which is going to, of course, remove any translated text appearing here. So let's go ahead and test this. And let's select our language. So let's select Spanish. So we can see this has correctly translated the text to Spanish, and it's even added in the correct punctuation there as well. So let's just quickly change over to another language. So let's try German. And we can see really quickly we've now got the same text but in German. The solution today has shown you how using Encodian Flowr you can start to really quickly and easily translate text into different languages. The action uses Microsoft Translation Services at the back end, so it is using a reliable source to translate the text, and any language that is available through the translation services will also be available through the Flowr action. We've also seen today how you can use Encodian Flowr actions directly in Power Apps without having to use a Power Automate flow to use the action within the app. So when using Flowr, you're not just limited to using it within Power Automate, you can use it directly within your Power Apps too. If you have any questions about anything you've seen today, please leave me a comment down below or get in touch with us at Encodian. And as always, happy automating.